Here we are, nearly 24 hours on from the bomb blast. How do you assess the situation within Syria?
Well, I think there was an initial shock period where the Assad regime had to, first of all, take stock of what had happened, find out who had died, when they had died, who was injured, and then find replacements for them. There's obviously a new defense minister that was quickly put in place. And now there's rumors that Assad has moved to Latakia. These are unconfirmed, of course, where he's setting up a base of operations there to try and lead the fight back. I think that what was important for Assad was to try and regain some momentum overnight. And we saw some increased military operations that occurred all around Damascus last night, increased violence and shelling. So I think they have desperately been trying to get the momentum back for their side. But at the same time, obviously, you know, these events are going to play out over the next week or so, both domestically in Syria and internationally.
Right, and as far as the FSA, the opposition forces, are concerned, do they have the capability to resist the momentum that Assad is trying to build up against them?
That's a very difficult question to answer because it depends on the areas of Damascus that they're located in. In places like Al-Midan, it's very mazy and you can't get heavy armour there, so I'd expect the FSA to be able to hold on. But there are other areas to the north of the city where I think it's going to be tough for them. And I think there's plenty of people who know full well that their supply lines are dangerously sensitive and they could be cut. If that's the case and the rebels run out of ammunition, then they could lose their gains very quickly.
Of course, Assad probably will have come up with a contingency plan for just such an event as this, and his possible move to Latakia may be an example of that. What other plans might he have put into place?
Well, I think that, you know, he's got elite units that he has in reserve. He's also called up, so I've heard, some 200,000 reservists now from barracks that he will use to try and flood the conflict simply with bodies. In terms of other sort of emergency procedures, well, without much backing from Russia, he doesn't have anything. He's already bringing in helicopter gunships and most of the weaponry that he has. The only step that he could go to would be to use chemical weapons. I don't think that's an option right now.
Okay, and as we look to the international effort, the ongoing diplomatic, I say ongoing, but it's stalled, isn't it? The diplomatic effort to try and find a resolution. We look to New York later today.
Yes, and I think, unfortunately, the Russians look to be as obstinate as they've ever been, actually. But I think behind closed doors, there are going to be some very, very seriously worried people in Moscow. And I think that what you'll need to see now is a conversation going on between the Americans and the Russians, because the Russians are knowing that, you know, their ally is starting to wobble. Their interests could be severely threatened, and they're going to have to come up with some kind of flexibility from their position in any discussion that they face tonight. They might have to indicate support for some kind of sanction regime if Assad, for example, was to up the ante and use more force. The question, of course, surrounds the monitoring mission. Will it be enforced with a new mandate? Will the Russians allow that? At the moment, I don't see any movement on that issue, but there's going to be, you know, more questions asked as the military conflict sort of intensifies, and if Assad looks like he's about to go, the Russians will surely bend.
All right, Mike Stevens, appreciate that. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.